Hello again. Welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife and CropLife Iron magazines, here today with Richard Jones, my new partner in crime. Richard, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you, Eric?
Good. Actually, we've been doing these now together since, I guess, the beginning of the year. So I'm going to have to stop saying you're my new partner. You're
That's right.
my ongoing partner, except for the 1 week or so I brought Jackie Pucci in to sit in for you while you were on the road.
The week when this show was good.
Yeah, and I guess, now that we're sort of hitting towards the end of March here, folks are going to be getting out into the field. So the travel schedule should ease up for a little while. I know I looked at my calendar a little bit this morning and doesn't seem to be anything there for me until early May. So it looks like the month of April, I'll actually be able to get my taxes ready and, maybe do some cleanup in the yard after the winter.
It's finally starting to break here a little bit. It's going to be nice to have you back in the office for a little while anyway, and then back out on the road. It's been great to be able to travel again and get you back out there and seeing people. So things are looking up.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have this issue or not, but I know in my front yard I have two of these sycamore trees, which are, and we colloquially I'll call them monkey ball trees here in our neck of the woods. They have these round spiky balls that I have all over my front lawn. I know the lawnmower will not pick those up to any appreciable density. So my weekend will probably be spent raking while this video is airing. I will probably be in the middle of cursing and swearing because I've gone through 5 to 7 lawn bags of monkey balls already, trying to get my lawn prepared for the first mow of the year.
Well, I think you're missing the opportunity. You've got a son.
Oh, he'll be helping. No. He will be helping. It's just I know his speed versus mine. It's like on occasion, when I've asked him to sweep parts of the sidewalk while I sweep out the garage, I usually finish the garage and I'm sweeping part of the sidewalk down towards him before he even gets his first pile together. So his speeds when it comes to raking and sweeping are slow and non-existent, I guess. So glacial. I mean, so there you go. Way too much information on my personal life going on, Richard.
Well, enjoy it. It's going to be hopefully it'll be a nice weekend to get out there.
Yeah, like I said, I know someone in the I actually heard a lawnmower going yesterday, which kind of surprised me, but what the heck? I guess the grass is growing. I know the daffodils are up, and so yeah, spring is here, which is a good thing.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of spring, I know that it was a couple of weeks ago actually we were talking a little bit about the Canadian rail strike situation and what negative impact that potentially could have on the grain and fertilizer markets here in the U.S. The strike actually started on Sunday, March 20th. And at that time, I know the union and the railroad were, quote unquote, saying that negotiations were far apart. But lo and behold, Richard, about 40 hours later, if my math is right, probably through some assistance from the Canadian government mediator who was taking part in the negotiations, an agreement was hammered out. So the strike officially ended on Tuesday, the 22nd of March. So rail service between the US and Canada will continue unabated for the spring season, which is incredibly good news for everyone out in the marketplace.
Very much so. There's so much uncertainty with everything that's going on in the world with fertilizer, obviously, but just with inflation and supply chain and fuel prices and everything else. That's one less thing that hopefully retailers, growers are going to have to worry about right up front here. So we'll let us step back and focus on some other things here for a change.
Yeah, and I know, in conjunction with that, I know after the news broke that the strike had ended, just checking some potash prices on the market, and it looked like they had dropped about 2 or 3% the day after the rail strike ended. And I know that even grain prices, wheat prices, I know have been going sky high, but actually they were coming down a little bit as well. So again, this is good news all around for everyone. There'll be supply to be had, and prices coming down will mean that more money can be made by the grower community and ag retailer.
Very, very good news. We need to get whoever was negotiating those deals, we need to get them involved with some of the major sports leagues in the US. They know how to get things done quickly. So
That's right. Okay. Yes, there's your baseball reference, people. From Mr. Richard. Yes, and everyone out there, if you want to know, Richard is a diehard Texas Rangers fan. So he has suffered as almost as long as us here in Cleveland.
We got close a couple times, and I'll take heart in that. Yeah.
Very good. So I guess, Richard, I know I'll throw the ball to you here. I guess you were having a conversation with someone recently regarding the specialty crop market and some implications for it based on what's going on in the government.
Right. Just some good news. I think many of you probably are familiar with the IR4 program. It focuses a little more on the specialty crop side, but it's been a critical program for specialty crop growers around the country for years now. If you're not familiar, obviously a lot of the focus, which is a benefit to row crop growers of the crop protection companies, quite often is on developing new products for the bigger program crops, the row crops, because just the vast acreage that they can sell to. And specialty crops sometimes, especially some of the smaller specialty crops, tend to get kind of left behind or get a little slower treatment in getting approval for new products. And so IR4 works with US EPA very closely and does a lot of research and data sets to take data to EPA and say, just kind of shortcut the process and say, hey, we've already got a ton of data on this crop for this crop protection material. This other crop is very similar. We have the data to show that it works here. Can we kind of speed the process up and get this valuable crop protection material available to growers in this crop? Really valuable in helping get solutions to specialty crop growers over the years. The funding has been pretty flat for a while. They're authorized by law to have up to $25 million a year for this program, but it's been kind of stunted at about $11.9 million for over a decade now. And there's a new group called Friends of IR4 Initiative, or Coalition, excuse me, the Friends of IR4 Coalition, a group of companies, associations, commodity groups that is working together to support getting that message out on the importance of increased funding for this program to try to help more growers. And they did get a big win here in the last couple of weeks. They signed into law the increase in funding of up to $14.5 million this year. So over $2 million increase, which is great. And they're hoping to continue to increase that in coming years. Again, $25 million is the allowable limit at this point. So don't see it going that high immediately, but hopefully can continue to fund this really good program because again, it really has been valuable to specialty crop growers.
Interesting. Yeah, it's nice to know they're able to get more money. I know in a couple of minutes we'll be talking here on part of what was my recent trip this week, and the fact that funds in DC at the federal level seem to be a little hard to come by, at least when it comes to increasing anything. So,
well, let's talk about that trip. Let's tell us about your last week here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital here, March 20th through the 22nd. Was attending two different events. First, Richard, was the folks at the Association of Equipment Manufacturers got together with their members and organized something they were referring to as Ag on the National Mall, which also took place over top of National Ag Day. And that event, like I say, on the National Mall, they had several large exhibitors there. I know the folks from John Deere, they had a big half tire with the words Farm Hard on it, and forming an arch on the National Mall, you might imagine was a popular photo op for a lot of the people traipsing through the event. They also had one of their sprayers on hand with the See and Spray system attached. So their people were talking about what that will mean for the marketplace going forward here. You had the folks at Fendt had something called the Xaver, Xaver, which was a little autonomous seed planter that they called it a concept vehicle. Thing was cute as heck. and basically you could run it from your cell phone, and basically move it around the field, and it could plant like one row of seed in the field. So again, and as I said, the folks there said this is a concept vehicle of something that we might see on a grander scale in the future, but it was neat to see that on display. And do you imagine there were a lot of kids traipsing through the National Mall looking at the farm equipment, and all of them seemed to love that there was a machine out there that was as tiny as them that seemed to be moving on its own. That was pretty impressive. And then the one folks, they weren't really tied to row crop, but the Cornell University had a booth set up there they were referring to as Alliance for Science. Love that name, by the way. And they were taking an interesting tack. They were talking about genetically modified fruits, in particular papaya and apple. And they were actually playing up. This was like one of the first times I've seen someone who does genetically modified in their marketing that actually didn't shy away from the words genetically modified. They had a trailer there with the word modified on it, where they were handing out slices of GMO papaya and apple to people who were attending the event. And they also had a couple of posters on hand that were explaining, what the genetically modified fruits were, what they represented, why they were special, why they were important, and why basically consumers should accept them and not fear them. So that was an interesting take on biocrops.
I think that's a great message to get out there. I mean, obviously we've known for a long time in the row crop world the benefits of being able to modify crops for various attributes. I don't, probably most people don't know. I think most, if not all, papaya is a modified because of a papaya ring spot disease. You couldn't have that without the modification. So, and then moved into apples with, and I think they've started to get into to consumer friendly benefits. So apples that don't brown as quickly, those type of things. So it's great to have a positive message about the capabilities of science in agriculture, and whether it's showing them the technology or showing them something like this. I think that's a great event for the public.
Yeah, and like I said, the most encouraging fact is I know there were a lot of parents there with younger children, and none of them seemed very shy about letting their kids get some free apple and papaya slices, even though they were genetically modified. So
that's great. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, and overall, the event, the 2-day event, according to the folks at AEM, attracted about 16,000 attendees. So, I mean, again, in terms of pure numbers, that's one of the larger events I've ever attended. Hoping they'll have us again next year, and with luck and maybe some COVID restrictions out of the way, maybe they'll double the number of exhibitors. It certainly was a fun outdoor format for an event to take place in March. You usually don't get those, but the weather was perfect as well. It was in the 70s and sunny, so I mean, it couldn't have been better.
That sounds like a pretty great way to spend a couple of days.
Yeah, well, and as a part of that trip, I also attended AgriPulse. Our friends there had what they called the 6th Ag and Food Summit, where they were talking about various issues going on in the marketplace. And one of the things they talked about, believe it or not, Richard, even though it still is probably a year away, not too soon to talk about the 2023 Farm Bill. We're coming up on the negotiations for that. It sounds like one of the speakers there was, let's see, it was David Scott, who was the House Ag Committee chairman. And according to David, that, right now, based on the timeline he has in mind for the 2023 Farm Bill, everything is on schedule. They're holding hearings talking about the makeup of the bill. It looks like between 2018 and 2028, that this farm bill will be about $867 billion will be the total amount. And then that, traditionally the farm bills have about 4 groups that are involved in their makeup. That would be, of course, the crop insurance folks, the nutrition folks, the SNAP program, the conservation folks, and then the commodity farmers, growers, and row crop information. Those are the 4 groups that are traditionally involved in this, but this year going into 2023, all the speakers at this event said that climate is going to become a big component of the next farm bill. And as a matter of fact, the speaker was Chuck Connor, CEO of the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, and his direct quote on that was that the 2023 Farm Bill will have to be the most climate-friendly bill we've ever had to pass. So, and of course, that's again, another group getting involved probably will help the bill move along through the process better. However, most of the speakers also indicated that that $867 billion figure pretty well set. There's not going to be more money to be had in this bill. So if there's more money going to climate, it's going to have to come from another portion of the bill. So what remains to be seen where that's going to come from, but we'll have to watch and see.
Well, we know climate's a priority in DC these days for a lot of people. And we also know that ag in general has been focusing on sustainable initiatives and climate and carbon and everything else. So hopefully we can find some middle ground that makes everybody happy. And but it's when you start talking about changing priorities, there's going to be, I'm sure there'll be some interesting discussions, and it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and as everyone reminded too, that the farm bills, you'd require some bipartisanship to get them to pass, because you still need 60 votes in the Senate to move them through the process. So there will have to be some cooperation across the aisle.
Yeah.
But again, we'll watch what happens with that over the next year or so.
Hopefully we've seen them all get together to change our clocks, so maybe they can agree on a farm bill, something really important.
Amen. Well, Richard, time for your favorite segment of the show.
Yeah.
Fun with numbers. All right, my friend. So again, still doing multiple choice this year. This week, we're going to go back with a question, and I'm going to hit you with 4 different numbers and see if you know. So, okay. As I just mentioned, the Farm Bill for 2023 is estimated to be $867 billion total package. So of that package amount, what percentage do you think the nutrition part is, the SNAP program? And your choices are 7%, 8%, 9%, or 76%.
Wow. So those first 3, oh my gosh, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's pretty tough. 76% for SNAP. I should know this, but just to be out there, I'm going to say 76.
You are correct, my friend. Yes,
yeah,
the nutrition SNAP program was 76% of the 2018 Farm Bill. And the 7% was the commodity side of the equation. 8% was the others, including conservation and climate, and crop insurance was the 9% figure. So, yeah, as you can tell, and I'm guessing, I mean, this wasn't overtly said at the Farm Bill meeting, but I'm guessing that if climate gets more of the pie, that I suspect that their more is going to be coming from the nutrition part. So. Just because it's the biggest part of it. So
yeah, you certainly would imagine that they would find some ways to shave a little bit there, but anxious to see how that turns out.
Yeah, but congratulations again.
Thank
another
you.
Ding for you, my friend.
Just setting it up for making it harder next week, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I'll have a little more time next week, but yeah, and that was nonetheless. I thought that was it. Given what we were just talking about, I thought that was interesting to have a trivia question tied to that. So
I wouldn't have got it without the multiple choice, I'll tell you
that. All right, my friend. Well, that's it for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe